Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Shit's Hard. I'm your host, Amber. And today we're going to be talking about growing up. Growing up is hard. I don't know. We've been reflecting this week, and I've brought a little piece of show and tell with me. So today we're just talking about looking back on the last 4 years, feeling a little bit disconnected from your old self, but how change is good, and like how much I've changed in the last 4 years for the better. So let's get into it. So, growing up, I was voted most changed in high school. I know. I don't know if that's a flex or not, but it's true. And I don't know. I don't know if this was a good thing or bad. I do feel like from freshman year of high school to senior year of high school, I had changed a lot. And I think the same is so true for college. I had changed so much from freshman year to senior year of college. And this is my show and tell piece that I brought in that got me thinking about this. I was looking at this photo on Corbin's dresser of us from, let's see if that'll pick that up. It's a little blurry, whatever. That's us, freshman year of college in my dorm room. I think that's our first date or something. I think our first like real date. I just I don't know, it was weird to look at this photo because it just doesn't look like me at all. It doesn't feel like that girl is me, which is like a weird like disconnect to feel like that photo of you isn't you or like, I don't know. I just feel like I've changed a lot since then. So that's what we're getting into today. Basically, something else that I was thinking of was freshman year of college. I was in this archaeology class, and Corbin was in this class too. It was just like an elective, so I didn't know a lot of people in the class. But my professor was really, really cool. She was really nice, and she was like this bohemian. She had this like boho style of like long sundresses and hats. And she was really interesting. She was so into archaeology, and she was so interesting. She had this person in who did like a lesson on like tattooing and henna and like the history of it and all that kind of stuff. And it was a really interesting lesson. But she had asked, like, does anybody here like, I don't know, like not agree with tattoos or something, or like not want tattoos, or like thinks that people shouldn't get them. I don't know. For some reason, 18-year-old me, I think I was, like I rose my hand and I was like, I'm not really into tattoos. Like, I just like feel like, what if they prohibited you from getting a job? Like, I don't know. I was just saying all this stupid shit that I'm like embarrassed to be saying this right now. Like, I'm embarrassed to be saying this out loud. Because I don't know. It just feels like really stupid and ignorant and closed-minded. Like I said, I've changed a lot since then. I don't even have any tattoos, actually. But, like, I don't think those things at all. Like, I don't think that you shouldn't get them. I don't think that it would prohibit you from getting a job. Or, on the contrary, I do think if it were to prohibit you from getting a job, it's probably not a place that you would want to be working anyways. But I was just reflecting on that because that's what this photo made me think of, was like this other Amber that that is weird and thinks things like that. Basically, I had gone to private school for 9 years. I went from pre-K all the way up to like 8th grade, and then I went to public high school. And Catholic school is different. Like, you can come out a little bit sheltered, I think. And that's where like I'm kind of rooting these things from, was like, I don't know, it kind of was ingrained in my brain that like, oh, like you don't want to get tattoos, like it could prohibit you from getting a job, you don't want to get piercings on your face and all these things. And you know, it's like everybody around you saying it, so like you're gonna believe it when you're a kid because like your parents are saying it and the teachers are saying it and like other parents are saying that. So it just kind of seems right. But like, I don't know, like I have a hard time debating like whether I don't like have any regrets. Obviously I couldn't choose where I went to school, but it's like I don't know if I like wish I didn't go to private school or not. I don't think that I do. Like, I'm glad that I had my life experiences, and also I have a lot of like friends from that school that are still my friends now at like 23. So I'm not like upset or anything, or 22. I think I'm 22. Anyways. But anyways, so like, but like sometimes I think about like, oh, if I were to have kids, like would I send them to private school or not? And I have like mixed feelings about that because I went to private school and I had a fairly good experience, although some things I don't agree with, and we'll get into that. But that's something like growing up that's certainly changed in me, is like religiously I've changed, politically I've changed. Family wise, I've changed. So like, let's just get into it. So like religion wise, like obviously you growing up to a Catholic school, you go to church every Sunday. And when you're in school, like actively in school, every Thursday or Friday, you have to go to mass, but you're still expected to go with your family outside of school on Sundays. So like, you're just always at freaking church. And it's kind of like a little bit shoved down your throat, I think, because like, well, I just think when I was that young, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. So like to have me in mass and like require it and like kind of teach you that like you have to be there and it's like against God's law to not go on Sunday. Like I did not know what the fuck was going on. Honestly, I slept through it a lot and like a lot of the kids did, and we'd all get like in trouble all the time for sleeping in mass because like a kindergartner can't hold their attention for one whole hour. And when you don't speak at all for the full hour, you're just like quietly watching the whole thing go down. But like, I don't know. I had a good experience in the sense that like I had some good teachers there. And like I said, I met some lifelong friends there. And I do think I learned some good lessons there. At least the private school that I went to was not like hitting us with rulers or anything like that. And for the most part, I don't think it was a hateful place. Like from what I learned in private school was very like, the whole premise of Jesus in the Bible is to like, be nice, be a good person, treat others kindly, help people who are in need. That's what I got out of it. Like, I personally didn't have any experience with, like, we hate gay people, they're going to hell, like, blah, blah. Like, luckily, but I know people who have, so I'm not saying that doesn't happen. But yeah, luckily, I didn't experience a lot of that, the one that I went to. But there's got to be a but. They did some things wrong. And this is the one that I want to talk about. This specific instance was one that I look back on, and I'm like, what the fuck? So, like I said, I went through pre-K through 8th grade. So I was 13, 14 when I left that school. That's like the max age that I was at this school. For the 6th through 8th graders, so that's, I don't know, 11, 12, and 13 age group. Once a year, there's this week called Right to Life Week. And it's basically all anti-abortion, which, like, you know, you can have your own beliefs on this. But, like, you can, like, whatever your stance is, an 11, 12, or 13-year-old was never old enough to understand what the fuck we were talking about, okay? Ever. Like, and so during this week, you know, you're talking about how, like, unborn babies need to be born. At this point, I don't even know what a dick is. Like, I don't know anything about, I don't even know what sex is. So, like, we're, you know, there, and I think that was, like, kind of used against, me and these other kids, because if there's anything I believe in children and education is educating them on everything and teaching people to use their own critical thinking and make their own decisions, come to their own conclusions. So giving everybody all the information, this is all of this side, this is all of this side. You decide how you feel about it and how that makes you feel, but I don't feel like that was given to me at that age. It was very much, so basically the Right to Life Week was, yeah, this whole week dedicated to that kind of shit. And then everyone had to write a paper. It was like a 500 word, or no, it was longer than that. It was like a couple pages, I think. Maybe like 2 to 3 pages on why you don't believe in abortion, basically, and why abortion should be illegal and why these babies should be born or whatever. And I remember there was a prize. There was a literal a cash prize, because the girl in my class won because she was adopted, and she wrote about, like, what if her parents would have aborted her or whatever. The whole sob story. I mean, this, whatever. Anyways, obviously she was gonna win. Okay, anyways. But looking back on that, like I said, whichever side you're on, I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. I didn't know what abortion was. I didn't understand the concept of it. I didn't understand why women actually would maybe want one, why women may actually need one. Like, nobody told me the other side. Nobody even really told me that. The right to life side. Like, I truly just was like, oh yeah, babies shouldn't die. Let me write about this. And that's like just what I thought I was talking about. So that was one thing that I think was a little bit fucked up. And like I said, kind of like, in a way, like, kind of groomed me into this, like, way of thinking of, like, abortion's so wrong. And I was so genuinely just uneducated on the whole topic. Like, if anybody who was on the other side of women's rights and bodily autonomy were to like argue with me, I would not even have been able to have that conversation because I had no fucking clue what I was talking about. Just genuinely uneducated, which was a big problem for me. As I got older, I became more educated my own self, and of course my own beliefs have changed being a woman. But that's not really the point. My issue is I would want to be at a school, or I would want to put my own kids in a school that's taught like critical thinking. And like I said, giving all the information and being able to make your own choice as to how you feel about it. And maybe I would have chose pro-life. I don't know. Probably not. I am not that way now. But like, yeah, that's one definitely big thing that's changed with me is the trust in the Catholic school system has been a little bit lost there because I felt like I wasn't given all of the information. And I don't fuck with that. I don't fuck with culty behaviors of like manipulating people who are kind of vulnerable, gullible children, essentially, into like only one way of thinking. Because I don't think that's the answer to any problem ever. Like you always want to be inspiring people to learn more, educate more, literally gobble up as much information as you can. And I felt like there was information being hidden from me. I honestly think like the better approach would be to have both sides. Have kids, just learn about the whole thing and make their own choice. And it probably would have made for a much better paper too. Because like I said, I'm dragging on for 3 pages about this fucking topic that I don't understand. But yeah, that was one issue that I just really didn't appreciate. And like I said, certainly one thing that's changed with me. I grew up in a relatively smaller town, certainly not a big town, that was primarily white. It's not very diverse, and probably primarily Catholic in many ways. I mean, I don't think there's any other church there other than like Catholic, Lutheran, and like mostly Christian. Like, I don't think there's any. I'm trying to think. Actually, I don't. I guess I don't know. Really, I don't know. But yeah, definitely wasn't a very diverse area. One of the reasons I was like kind of itching to get out of there, just because I had to experience like just something different, And I think like, yeah, like I said, like my own like politics and religious beliefs going into college, coming from that small town, were very just uneducated. I mean, that's the only way to put it. Is just like I just didn't know. You know what I mean? Like if you're not seeing things in real life and nobody's teaching you about it and everyone in your town believes the same thing, everyone in your school believes the same thing, you're just not going to really hear multiple pieces of the puzzle. Yeah, that right to life thing, I just think looking back, I'm like, Loki, that was fucked. I'm like, I don't know if they still do that now. I'd honestly be interested to know. I'm trying to think if there was anything else there that I didn't really fuck with. But other than that, that school was pretty, as far as I remember, pretty like open to like questioning your faith is a good thing. And they very much were like asking questions is good because it promotes your relationship with God. And the more questions you ask, the more information you'll seek, the more that you'll know about him. And which was cool. Because like I mean, this seems off topic, but maybe we'll go in on religion for a second here. One question I always had as a kid, like I said, I went freaking pre-K through 8th grade. I always had this question and like I never got it answered. Was like, okay, if Matthew, Mark, Luke, John like wrote the Bible, like these people wrote the Bible, like where the fuck is the original text? Like I know like the Bible's here and there, it's been, translated 100 times, blah, blah, blah. Where's the one that they took pen to pencil with? I need to know. Like that's just like the way that I think is like this very like logical way of thinking, like, oh, if somebody wrote this, where is it? Because I need to see the cold hard facts that somebody wrote it. But they encourage stuff like that. They encourage questions. I mean, nobody had an answer for me, or I don't know. I've had someone say maybe it's in Europe somewhere, or like at the Vatican or something, but nobody's answered. I don't know. I've never Googled it. Maybe I should. But yeah, it was an interesting place. But so I don't know, religiously I've changed a lot from like going to church every Sunday and Thursday to as I got to high school, you get into sports and athletics, I kind of stopped going on Sunday because sports were usually on Sunday. And then when I got to college, my college roommate actually was also, she had such a similar background for me. It was so weird. We were like random roommates. We didn't really know each other. ended up living together all 4 years and being like besties. But we also had very similar backgrounds. We both had gone to like Catholic school for a very long time. She went actually all the way through high school. So college was her first time at public school, which is kind of wild. But like we both came from like similarly religious families and like church on Sunday type of situation to like we weren't super into religion, but we were like, I don't know, should we go to church? And even freshman year, we like a few times like went to church. And went to like Ash Wednesday. I think honestly just our freshman year we kind of fizzled out after that. But yeah, like things do change, and I think like I don't know, with all that goes on today with like politics and religion, it's almost like just likely that your politics and religion would change in the midst of all of this. I don't, it seems strange, but like right now politics are heavily attached to religion, which seems a little bit like weird and incorrect. Like I don't think that I thought I always say this, like I said, I always ask these fucking questions. Like I thought we had a separation of church and state. So I think I find it a little bit strange that we have like politicians like so adamant on advocating as a Christian or a man of God. Probably they do it because it works, because it attributes to a lot of Americans and that's what they want in their government. I have a couple other few weird questions on that. Like, if we always had a separation of church and state, why is "in God we trust" on our currency? And I genuinely mean that from just like why did we do that type of thing? If we had a separation of church, because they kind of seem combined in that, or like the Pledge of Allegiance that kids usually say at public schools. I guess I don't really. Did I say that at public school? I definitely did it at private. But like that says mentions God, or the national anthem says God, and then I'm like, I thought we had I don't know. Honestly, answer me that question though, because I'm like actually wondering. I'm not like being a dick. But that's also where I do feel like separation of church and state was a good thing, because I don't know. It's like all of this religion combined with politics it just doesn't seem to be good. Just from any way you look at it, it seems to be very like divisive. I mean, politics in general are already pretty divisive. And then when you bring religion into it, it's like almost even more divisive. It's almost even more so like only one religion is on this side and one religion on that side or whatever. It doesn't seem to be helpful to a community, which I mean, makes sense. I mean, truly, like if we just like zoom out for a second and we look on like what makes a culture or a city or a community better and healthier, is usually diversity. It's usually the bringing together a variety of different people who look different, who act different, who have different religions, different beliefs. It's usually actually very good for a community to have diversity. It's healthy too, and I feel like in all ways, like even like probably economically if you look into it, but I digress. Anyways, things change. Growing up's weird. Looking back on these things that I used to do is weird. Thinking about how I used to go to church every Sunday and I haven't been probably over a year is weird. Honestly, as I got older, I kind of only went because my mom still goes and I just would like go with her. I don't have anything against the church or anything. I just don't have any motivation to seek it out right now either. I don't really know, religiously, I don't really know what I believe, but that part of my life's kind of on pause right now because it's not really a concern of mine for some reason, but I don't know. Moving on from that, another thing that's changed is like family relations, at least for me. Making time for family is different. Not fucking hating your siblings anymore is very different. I don't know. I feel like when I was younger, me and my siblings did not fucking like each other. And it was like a long time, it feels like, till we liked each other. I have pretty different age gaps, though, in my family. My brother's like 9 or 10 years older than me, and my other sibling's like 5 years older. So we're not like super close in age anyways, but that's definitely something that's changed over time. Is like now, especially being across the country from everybody, like now I have to like seek out and like make time for my family, rather than you see them all the time, which is a pretty big change. And it's different, like it's different having like virtual quality time with your family rather than in person. Because yeah, it's been like a couple months now and I don't have any like plans to go home yet. So we'll see. Hopefully by next Christmas I'll be able to go home, but some things never change, and I think that's kind of the note I want to end on is like at least I feel very lucky. My friends and family haven't changed over a lot of years. Like I said, even from that private school I went to, K-8, I have a lot of friends from that school specifically, so I have that to be kind of grateful for. And I also feel like in a lot of ways some ways I haven't changed. Some ways I have, and like I said, looking at this photo of myself is super weird because that girl just, I don't know. It's like, in some ways I feel like I don't like her. I do like her. It's just like she was misguided sometimes, and I'm like embarrassed of her misguidedness. But I feel like in general, I have usually been in the pursuit of being a better person or being a good person. And I don't know if that's nature or nurture, if I was born that way or if I was taught to be that way. That's another conversation. But I'm proud of that, at least. Like, at least looking at this photo of this Amber from 4 years ago, I know she was trying her best, which I like, I respect. And also something that I like about myself is that I usually choose me. Like, always. I've always been pretty good at that. Is like, I've always been good at like usually not really getting into things that I don't want to do, not spending time on things that I want to spend time on, not spending energy or like mental load on people that aren't really worth my time. Not worth my time, but like people who don't give back to me, you know? I've always been good at choosing me. And that's something that I'm glad that's never really changed. And I hope it never does, because I feel like it's kind of got me where I am. And maybe I'm not like exactly where I want to be, but soon I will be. I don't know. I'm closer to where I want to be than I ever have been before. So I'm proud of that, at least. But shit we're working on this week is just living in the present, becoming a better version of ourselves every day, and reflecting on how we've changed for the better. Because I think sometimes also it's easy to feel like I haven't made any progress. You know, like I'm already 22. I thought I was going to be farther in life by 22. I thought I was going to be, well, when you're like 16, you think you're going to be like fucking married by the time you're 22 and like have 4 kids or whatever the fuck. God, I probably thought 22 was so old when I was like 10. I probably was like, I'll be so old. But in reality, I'm so young and I have so much time to do all these things. And I'm enjoying this episode of reflecting back on who I used to be and how I've changed, because I have made progress. I've changed for the better. And that's something to be proud of. Even if I'm not like exactly where I want to be in life right now, I'm on my way there. And hopefully it's only up from here. So, I'll leave some questions down below. Have you changed for the better in the last few years? Or how have you changed over the last few years? Or have you changed for the worse? I don't know. Let me know. Maybe you've gotten worse. So that brings us to the end of this episode. I'm your host, Amber. Thanks again for joining me, and I will see you on the next one, because this shit is kind of hard.